Hey everybody, I'm Sean Hammond. We're here at Line 6 in Calabasas, California with Andy Paredes.
Hey.
How are you, Andy?
Good, thanks.
Good to see you. So you guys are unveiling a pretty amazing new product that you guys are really excited about.
What we're doing is we have a new pod system. It's called Pod HD. We have the 300, 400, 500. They're all floor-based effects. It has new amp modeling. There's 16 new HD amp models. We're adding, there's 80 different effects on the 300. There's 90 different effects on the 400 and over 100 different effects on the 500, as well as our new proprietary Line 6 link that will actually connect into our GT50 amplifier. The first thing I can do is I can show you some of the different amp models so you can hear what's new that's happening. We have roughly 10 times the amount of processing that we had before, so we're able to do a lot more with the dynamics and as far as the percussiveness and how the amp models react.
Now you're talking about 10 times even, say, what was in the Veta and the HD heads, all 10 times the top of what you had before.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we actually had to build a whole new set of tools. We built like 15 new software and hardware tools. So we went back and we grabbed some of our favorites, you know, like the JCM 800 and the Box 30 top boost. But we also added some new ones like a Dr. Z, Gibson 185, and an Angle Fireball.
And you've got you've got an amazing wall of amps up here that we'll get a shot of later. But these are some of the amps you're talking about, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we did all the amps that you're going to see in that shot.
We have our JTM 45, GCM 800. We have our custom high watt 100. And then we have our Park 75. There's our Bogner Uberschall, Mesa Dual Rec, and our Angle Fireball 100. Those are the big guys. We have our deluxe reverb. Next to it is our Dr. Z Route 66, and in front of it is our Supro. Next little treasure is our Gibson 185. We have our twin reverb behind it, AC 15 and an AC 30. Our Fender Bassman, and then an amp that actually made it into our Spider 4 amplifiers, the Divided by 13.
So Andy, before you start playing and showing us what the Pod HD 400 can do, tell us about the guitar that you're playing into and which models you have it set to.
Okay, well, this is the new James Tyler Variax. This is the 89 model, which is more of a shredder style. We also have the 59, which is more of a Gibson style neck, and then we have the 69, which is more of a Fender style guitar as far as like the radius of the neck and playability. So what I'm going to be using on this one is I'm going to be using a Telecaster style or the T model in the bridge position.
Okay. And the model that you're going to start out with on the Pod HD 400 is?
This is our Gibtone model, which is modeled after the Gibson 185 amplifier.
Okay, cool. Let's hear it.
This next one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Strat, which we're going to call a Spank on here. So I'm going to use the Spank model going into a Tweed Bassman, which is a 410 cabinet. This is actually going to be a new amp model for us. This is a Dr. Z Route 66. And for this one, I'm going to switch back to the Tele. I'm going to use an AC30 model with a Les Paul. This is going to be a Park 75, which is a pretty rare version of the Marshall amps that were made in the late 60s and early 70s, but they weren't released in the United States. This is going to be our reinvention of the JCM 800 model that we've seen before on other Line 6 products, but it's gone through that same HD processing. This is going to be the Angle Fireball.
so you've shown us some of the new models that you have that are brand new and some of the new takes on classic models. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the general operation and then some of the new effects?
Looking at it from the right, we're actually, like many of the Pod HD floor units that we've come out with, we actually have an expression pedal that you can switch between volume, and it just moves up and down like this. But if you want to switch it over to a wah, all you need to do is engage it. And so now it becomes a wah pedal. Yeah, exactly. So it feels pretty comfortable for most guitar players. Looking at it, this is the Pod HD400, and depending on if you have the 300, 400, or 500, you're going to get a few more hardware options as you go up in number, basically. But on the Pod HD400 that we're looking at, starting at the left, on the upper left, you're going to see bank up and down, and this will either send you through the bank buttons. As I click this, you'll notice that now up in the LCD, it's going to switch to bank 5, and as I click it again in the upper right, you'll see bank 6, and so on. So that's the first thing. On the left side, at the bottom, you're going to see our mode button. So what the mode button is going to do is it's going to put us into the 3 different modes you can work with on the HD400. The first mode is just going to be regular presets, which is A, B, C, and D. So for example, if I hit this, up in the readout you see 4A, and now you're going to see B, C, and D as I switch through those. If you go back to that mode button, when you click it again, now it puts us into the looper function. And so now what I can do is if I want to use the 24-second looper on here, all I need to do is I can hit record. So if I start playing something, I just hit record, and then when I want to play it back or stop the recording, I just hit stop, and that's what you're seeing on the right side of each of those pedals. The third mode that you're going to see on this pedal is basically treating it like an effects unit. So what you're going to see here is you're going to have the amp modeling that you can turn on or off. Here, this would be effects 1, which is all of the gain-based effects, and some of the reverbs are there. Effects 2 is going to be more modulation, and effects 3 tends to be mostly delays. And then also if you want your chromatic tuner, which you'll see up in the LCD screen, all you need to do is hold the tap button for like 3 seconds, and you're going to see the tuner come up. So now when you go through your tuning, you can get in tune. And it's totally silent tuning.
So Andy, how many banks are there available in this again?
There's 32 banks of 4 channels. You can put any of those effects pre or post, before the amp modeling or after the amp modeling, and you can run all 4 effects simultaneously, which would be effects 1, 2, and 3, along with your reverb. We also have the M series effects, which are taken from our award-winning M9 and M13, and we have most of those effects. Depending on which model HD you get, you're going to get all of those effects in there as well. This is the first time a pod has had a looper, so you're going to get either a 24-second or a 48-second looper in your new pod. On effects 1, what I have is a compressor set up, so instead of when I just click on that, I'm going to get that compression going on. And on effects 2, I'm going to get my flanger. So here's the sound without it, and here's with. And my effects 3 is where I have my delay with it's an analog echo with modulation in it. So what you can do is you can use any of these where you can just turn the effects on or off, or you can just treat it like we were talking about before in the preset mode, and you can just roll through your presets. So if you wanted to add a riff like that, you can have that. But if you don't want the delay for a certain part of the song, you can just turn that off. So basically what you're doing is you're adding the stomp box style pedal to a traditional pod application.
All right, Andy, so why don't you tell us about the pricing on these new units?
Okay, the Pod HD300 is going to be $329 street price. The 400 is going to be $399, and the Pod HD500 is going to be $499 street price.
Cool. And where can people go to find out more about these?
You can just go to line6.com.
Cool. I'm Sean Hammond, and you're watching PremierGuitar.com.